for having this conversation today. Thrilled that all of you have joined us. As we welcome everyone in, if you would go ahead and let's start practicing that chat box. So if you would just let us know your name, the organization that you're representing, and maybe what part of the country you're joining us from. We'd really like to know where our attendees have joined us from today. We welcome guests from all over, so we'd love to see where you're representing. And so yeah, thank you for getting us started. I love that. So fundraise, you've got a cause, learn how to fund it. That is always a number one goal for many of us in this sector. So again, glad that you're here. I love the cause selling education model and thrilled to have today's curriculum as it relates to pulling in that CRM skill set and the abilities that bring that about. So again, as you join us, go ahead and use that chat. We're just asking for your name, your organization, and what part of the country you've joined us from. You're going to hear from me off and on, but a lot less because our guest is going to take over in just a moment. But I'm Jarrett Ransom, nonprofit nerd, president and CEO of the Raven Group. Honored to be here and to moderate the session for you today. Today, our esteemed presenter, thrilled to have her with us, is Margie Worrell, and she is curriculum manager at Bloomerang. And I just want to say, I'm so grateful, Margie, to have your expertise with us today as you talk to us about this conversation. Bloomerang is ironically an platform that I've been able to get my hands in quite often, and I'm always thrilled to learn more, but you can really use the skill set in various CRMs. But Margie brings to us a plethora of expertise. Again, curriculum manager at Bloomerang. She also serves on the board of the Peace Learning Center in Indianapolis, and she's worked extensively with nonprofits as both staff members as well as a lead volunteer. So she's got some scar tissue to share with all of us too, some personal stories of being in the trenches. Her passions include education. Fun fact, she's a retired teacher, so she spent a lot of time teaching. She also enjoys theater and her two children, as well as her two small dogs that, if we're lucky, we might hear them in the background today. But really excited to have you with us, Margie. And I know I've got my pen and paper sitting right next to me, so I can start taking notes. So I encourage everyone else to do that. I have learned from Margie that she really encourages people to be interactive. So if you have any questions, again, make sure that you utilize that chat and we will do our best to facilitate that. And Margie, it's all yours, my friend. Take it away.
Thank you so much, Jarrett. I really appreciate it. And thank you to Fundraising Academy for allowing us to have this platform to talk today about how you can utilize your CRM to really do some heavy lifting for you as a part of the cause selling cycle. I'm with Jarrett. I love the cause selling cycle. I think this is a great way to really think about fundraising in a very intentional way. And I also love the idea of how we can utilize any CRM to help us be able to carry out these tasks in a way that's more efficient and more effective. I don't know about any of you, but I don't have too many spare minutes in my day. And a lot of you, I'm sure, are wearing multiple hats within your organizations. So anytime that your CRM can help alleviate some of the tasks, some of the stress, we want that for you. So we're going to do a quick review of the cause selling cycle here. Many of you are very familiar with this, but we've broken it down basically into 3 different phases. So phase 1 are the purple boxes right here, the prospecting and pre-approach. This is the work that you do prior to even considering talking to someone. And we're going to talk about how your CRM can help in this phase. Also phase 2, the approach, need discovery, presentation, and then handling objections. This is that phase where you are really getting in there, getting in those conversations, building that relationship with that donor. And this is another great area to think about how a CRM can help you to be able to store that information, retrieve that information. Information's funny because if you get information and you don't retain it somewhere, it is not useful. There's no way that that's going to be useful to you. So we really need to think about how can we get information and get to know our donors and build that relationship in a very intentional way and be able to access that when we need to. And then the final phase, phase 3, is the ask and stewardship. This is where you actually ask for that funding, for that support, and then stewarding that relationship moving forward. We don't want to drop anyone. We want people to feel a part of our cause, a part of our mission. And so it's really important to continue to engage. And this is another area where your CRM, your customer relationship management system, can really help you. And I'm going to use those terms kind of interchangeably today. I'm going to talk about database, CRM, donor management. If I'm saying that, it's all the same thing. These are just different terms for the same sort of system, if you will. So before we start, I'd like to hear a little bit from you, and we're going to launch a poll. How does your organization currently use your database as part of the cause selling process? And in the poll, here are your choices. We use it as a means of prospecting for new donors, and this is multiple. Oh, I'm sorry, this is single choice. I thought this was multiple choice. We use it to help create meaningful asks for our donors. And some of you may have more than one way that you do it. You may have to just select one for today. We use it as a part of our ongoing stewardship plan for our donors, or we are not currently using our database in this way, but that's why we're here today. So it's awesome if you answer that, because you're in the right place. So go ahead and jump in there. If you want, if you're not seeing something that fits you, feel free to drop into the chat and tell us what really applies for you. I see we have one person who said that they're using it as part of their stewardship plan. That's great. It's a great use of your CRM. But I see several people, we have 6 that are saying that they aren't currently using their database this way. This is a great opportunity because you're going to learn some different thoughts about how you can utilize your CRM moving forward to help you to be able to be more efficient and more effective. So I love this. I'm really happy that you're here with us today. I'm going to stop sharing the poll. Thank you for those of you that chimed in for us there. So let's start by talking about phase 1. Phase 1, remember, is prospecting and the pre-approach. So what is prospecting? Prospecting is the process of looking for or searching for your prospective donors. This also includes qualifying your prospects. So you want to make sure that with the time you have, that you're investing it wisely, that you're spending it with prospects who are going to want to be a part of your mission, and also have the ability to be able to give. So it's important that we qualify and that we look for as much information as we can about our prospects moving forward. Tools that you might use if you are doing prospecting would include influencers and referrals, looking to other people. Maybe you look at events to find prospects, maybe through direct marketing, trying to reach out and get more prospects in, social media marketing, maybe warm calling, networking. You might have some lead generation software that you're utilizing, or maybe your website, maybe those types of things. So when you're looking at prospecting, you want to make sure that you are really intentional about qualifying those donors so that you aren't spending time in an area where you might be better off spending your time with some of your other prospects. And then the pre-approach is the planning that's done prior to contact. So this is going to be an area before you even set up that meeting with your potential donor. So for this area, you want to be thinking about things and finding out things like who drives philanthropic decisions for this particular person. Maybe it's maybe they have a partner and they need to have them involved as well. If it's part of an organization, maybe you want to think about who in the organization makes the decisions about where philanthropic monies are spent. Remember that you also might want to look at the giving history within your organization and see if they have any kind of giving history with you. See if you can find out about personal interests or passions and priorities or other charitable work and connections that you might have. Those are great ideas for what to use and do within the pre-approach. One of the other things that I know you've heard through cost selling is the Madden approach. So what we're looking for here is, do they have the money? Do they have the capacity to give? Are they approachable? Can we possibly be able to even get in to speak with this person? I know that a lot of people would like to talk to, Bill Gates, but it's probably not approachable. So we really want to think about, okay, who is approachable for us? Desire. What is it that is going to be of real interest to this particular person? Have they donated to nonprofits like ours in the past? What are their outside interests and hobbies? Do those align with our particular cause? Also, we want to know, are they the decision maker? You don't want to spend a lot of time and invest a lot of time with someone who really ultimately can't make that decision. You want to make sure that you are in the room with the right people so that you aren't taking up someone else's time and also investing yours. You want to invest your time as wisely as possible. And you also might want to think about when you are talking with someone, asking them, is there anyone else who needs to be involved in this decision? I know that's one of the questions I used to ask is there anyone else who really should be involved in this meeting? Because a lot of times that will help to get people thinking about, oh yeah, we really do need to think about inviting someone else within the organization. Emotion. This is the kind of thing where we want to learn a lot more and seek out potential donors that are going to align with our organization. So passions, right? We hear a lot about passions and people's interests. We want to make sure that we are finding people who care passionately. If someone has a great interest in education, but I'm doing animal welfare, while they might be someone who I have connections with and they might have the giving capacity, it might not be a good fit. I might want to find someone who aligns more with animal welfare causes. So the other thing that we want to consider is need. What is the need that donating to our organization is going to satisfy for this donor? And a lot of times getting down to that is going to take doing some questioning and really doing some listening and figuring out what motivates this donor in particular, because everyone is motivated in different ways when it comes to giving and donating. So keeping in mind, the Madden test is a really great way to qualify your donors, and it's easy to remember. So finding donors within your database, we're going to start with that because that's kind of the low-hanging fruit, right? If you have a database, if you have a CRM, you already have people inside there who are going to be really great prospects. Some people may be in there, they haven't donated yet. Maybe they've engaged with your organization through events or volunteering, but they haven't actually made a donation. So you want to really think about, how can I get people from being in that case to getting to the donation? Other levels of prospect might be your A prospects are the ones that you might want to consider approaching first. Maybe people who are donors who have given in the last 3 years in a row, but haven't ever elevated their gift in any way. They've kind of gotten stagnant with their giving, but they do continue to give. So this shows that they care very much about your mission, but maybe they've just gotten into a bit of a giving rut. It's a good opportunity to reach out to them and see if they can step up a little bit, particularly if you have a campaign that is going to be one that they are passionate about. This goes back to knowing their passions, right? You can ask them, hey, we have this particular campaign going on right now. Can you step in and help us out with a little extra? It's a great way to tie that extra gift into something very tangible. Reactivated donors, maybe somebody who has lapsed for a while and just recently came back. This is a really great person to start to engage more with. Something's prompted them to come back to giving with your organization. So consider, what is it that's happening there, and really engage with them to keep them coming back to you so they don't lapse again. New donors with $500+ that you don't know yet. These are people who gave a considerable amount to your organization, but haven't been in your database prior to this point. they must have something that has really drawn them in. So this would be a good person to prospect, to really dive in and get that deeper relationship with, and maybe come back and ask for a little bit more, or get them on a recurring schedule. Recurring donations is a great way to have that that income, that funding that's coming in, and it's assured on a regular basis. And also look for people who've given to you through multiple channels. Sometimes these are people who might give through a website request, and then maybe through an event, through all of these different areas. And maybe you're only seeing part of what they're giving, but when you look at the total, and again, your CRM can help you with this, you can see the total that they have given. A lot of times it's greater than you might think. So keep those folks in mind as well. I would love to hear, what are some other ideas you have for people that you would put on your A list, the people that you would reach out to that are prospects within your own database. So think about who in your database might be somebody that you could reach out to. And drop those in the chat for us if you have ideas around that. So while you're putting those in the chat, I'm going to go ahead and talk a little bit vendors that your organization buys from. I so love that, because actually we're going to talk about that in just a few minutes. And I love that you put it in there, because that was one I hadn't really thought of, and I think it's brilliant. So yeah, thank you for that. Very, very insightful. Auction bidders, love it. Absolutely. Auction bidders are great, because these are folks who have obviously had some interest in your organization, in your mission. They've bid at your auction. Maybe they're ready to start giving to you on a donation basis. So why not engage with them? Find out more. It's a prospect, means you're going to develop a relationship and find out more. You have some data behind it that supports going further with this individual. Now, the B and C prospects are interesting. There's a zip code sort, and there's a couple different ways to look at this. Zip code sorts, you can look for zip codes in affluent areas and consider looking for prospects there. And you can utilize your CRM to do a zip code search. Another thought is, if you are a local organization and you serve locally, a zip code sort might be from a different angle, to find people who care about local issues and want to give and live locally, because they're going to be a part of your community. So zip code sort could be a great way, and a CRM is perfect for that. Frequent ticket buyers, maybe you have folks who kind of are on the periphery. That's how I look at these folks, right? They come to your events, they do things with you. Maybe they are the bidders in your auctions, like the next bullet point says, but they aren't really engaging with you in a very deep way. They're obviously there on the periphery for a reason. Maybe friends invite them to your events, and they come and they've heard a little bit about your organization. They've heard a little bit about your mission. Why not start to get a little deeper and say, hey, we would love to have a conversation with you about our mission. We know we've seen you at our events and we love that. Why not reach out to them and see, can we go a little deeper? And then anyone who opted to make a donation from your website. Again, this is a kind of a periphery giver, right? They're on the outside just giving. Maybe it's time to say, hey, we love that you gave us this donation. How can we get you some more information about the work that we're doing? I think that that's really great. Those are really great resources. So how can your CRM partner in helping you find those prospects within your database? Well, one thing I would encourage you to look for in a CRM when you're looking is make sure that they have some pre-built report templates for commonly used reports. This is A, time saver, and B, an educator. It saves you time when you want to run these reports, but also if you go in and look at these reports and how the filters are set up, it can be super helpful to teach you how to create filters and reports. So this is something I would highly encourage you to look for in a CRM. Inside Bloomerang, we have several different pre-built reports that could be useful to you when you are looking to find those prospects in your database. One is loyal donors. This is going to show you your donors that have given for the last 4 years. Remember earlier we talked about people who have given for the last 3 years at the same level? You could utilize this report and just add a filter that shows that they've given the same amount every year, and that you would be able to have that information very quickly at your fingertips. What about high potential donors? This goes through, and we actually have a partnership. You're going to hear me talk about this a lot today, a partnership with Donor Search that they help provide us with wealth screening information, very basic wealth screening information for every person inside your Bloomerang database. And what we can do with that information is we can start to pull and see who are your highest potential donors, who rates really well as far as having the philanthropic capacity to give. And you could have that information just like this by running this report. What about lie bunt and side bunt? I like to call these the bunts because they are last year, but unfortunately not this, or some year, but unfortunately not this. These are great prospects. This is someone who was engaged with your organization, who was giving to your organization, and for some reason stopped. They aren't doing it now. It's a great opportunity to reach back out to them and start to develop and build that relationship and talk about the impact that your organization is making, and then approach them for some funding as well. And then online donations. Again, we talked about being able to find those donors who are giving online. This is a great report for that. So really, when you're getting ready to look at a CRM, make sure they have pre-built reports, because that's something that's vital. Your CRM should also have the flexibility to measure and report on any factor that you value. And that means having custom fields. We call it custom fields. There's a lot of different names for it. In Bloomerang, we have a lot of options for you to be able to customize the data that you're collecting and then reporting out on. You can base it around your constituents. So any person or profile inside your database. Transactions can also have customization. Your interactions, you can customize those as well, and even down to notes. And we're going to talk about this again a little bit later. You can customize the type of notes that you're collecting. For constituents, one example of customization is if you are an organization that serves many different causes. For example, I used to work at United Way, and we dealt with housing, we dealt with food insecurity, we dealt with education. So we had a lot of different areas. One really interesting thing to find out about your constituents, if you are that type of organization, is which causes do they particularly care about? What are the causes that really resonate with them? And then you can have that information inside your database. You can make a cause interest area, list out the causes, and be able to kind of bucket your constituents into areas that they care about, cause areas. Then when you want to take action or you have a campaign in a certain area, it's very easy to be able to create a group in your database and send out information to them, or just to be able to run a report and send out information to them. So being able to customize your data is another feature I highly recommend looking for in a CRM. Also, if your CRM is going to be a good partner for you, you want to be able to have some sort of wealth screening. And for Bloomerang, we have our generosity meter. This is through our partnership with Donor Search. And this is actually, if you have any subscription with Bloomerang, you're going to have this. Every profile for a constituent in your database is going to have a meter. And this is based on philanthropic giving, real estate holdings. It's based on any other kinds of criteria around wealth. And it's a very basic filter, but what it does is Donor Search gives a rating, and then we translate that into cold, cool, warm, hot, or on fire for our generosity meter. And what that does is, at a glance, I can look and see, oh, this person has high capability to give. They are going to be able to give at a higher level, or somebody is maybe not as able to give. And I want to think about being very respectful of their giving capacity. So that's the kind of basic level of what you can get. I think it's really great to have a feature like this. Also, you want to know, is it going to be able to integrate with my database? And can it scale if we need more? So one of the things that we do at Bloomerang is allow you to stack your tech if you will. And so you can add on. If you want to add on, you can get features like this, where you can get like a giving summary that you see right here, where higher education, youth development, you can see the causes that this particular donor cares about. You can see the exact real estate holdings, their charitable giving, a lot of deeper information. So it's ideal to have this kind of partnership inside the database as well, because it will save you a lot of time, a lot of energy, and it can be also a money savings, because if you do this outside of your database, it could cost more than if you do it with a partnership involved. And here's a little pro tip. Another feature that we have on Bloomerang is our engagement level. This measures any kind of engagement that your constituents have. And you can also run reports. By the way, if you don't have Bloomerang, you can run reports to find these kinds of things. It's just we automatically do it for you and present it in a very quick glance. But the engagement level includes any volunteering, any responses to emails, clicking on links, any donations. And your engagement level goes up as a constituent anytime you do something that is engaging with the organization. This shows us that this person has an affinity for the organization they're ready to give. When you pair that with the donor search information, you can see who is your ideal high impact donor. This is someone who's ready and willing and able to give. So those are pieces that you can find on your own in your CRM, or you can have them at a glance if it's a CRM that is capable of that. All right, before we go into finding prospects outside of your database, I wanted to see if we have any questions, and I see that we appear to have one in their Q&A. It says, can you give examples of interactions in a CRM? Is it a drop-down, call, in-person, email, or does it also have a notes section? And if so, how do you sort notes? Yes, absolutely. So interactions can actually be anything that you want it to be. So you can make an interaction out of a phone call, out of in-person, email, any of those, right? But you can also make custom fields around interactions. So you can have things that are like, for example, volunteer activity, and you can put inside of that fields around how much time the volunteer spent, what date they volunteered with you, those types of things. So yes, the answer is you can have interactions where you have drop downs and select, but you also can create some customization around that as well. Great question. I love it. All right, so let's go ahead and move on to talking about finding prospects outside of your database. So where to start? Again, you can ask Bill Gates, but I don't know that you're going to get much response on that. I know that I've sat in a room before as a part of a board that I served on, and we all tossed out names of people that we knew that we thought maybe would be great for us to approach. Yeah, that's a hard thing to do, right? But it's a really great exercise, because sometimes what you'll find is that you may know this person and someone else may know this person. One of you can approach them and talk to them and really get them involved. So one way to find prospects outside of your current database is to ask your current donors or major donors or board members for referrals. They may have connections that you could utilize. Another great way is to think about work affiliations. So board member employers in particular, if you have board members that work for an organization that maybe it would be someone who could be a potential major gift giver, or maybe it's just someone that you want to engage in your mission, you could have your board member approach some of the leadership within their organization, ask them if they're willing to do that for you. And I think most board members would be, and just talk to them about this cause. A lot of organizations are very concerned about honoring the organizations that their employees care about. So this could be a great way of being able to start a relationship with that particular corporate a corporation even. So you could even start working with more people within that organization. Other nonprofit organizations. One thing that I've heard a lot of people say is that they check out the donor walls in organizations that are similar to theirs. Who are they talking to, right? And it gives you ideas, even if you're not going to ask those same people, it might give you ideas around, oh yeah, that's an area we could look into. Publish donor lists, and also attend their events. Start to meet some of the people who are giving to other organizations. It's not that you're trying to pilfer. It's not that you're trying to steal anybody. Many of these folks are going to give to 4 or 5 organizations. Yours could be one of them. It's not something where it's exclusive. So don't feel that burden of guilt on that. Look to your own special events. Special events are really great because many times your supporters are going to invite friends, they're going to invite family, they're going to invite people who aren't part of your database. If you have that information in your CRM, you can run a report and find out who has attended your events but does not have a donation already recorded within your database. That's a great way to be able to use your database around special events. Website impressions. If there are people who keep coming back to your website and haven't really donated yet, that's another great area to say, hey, we see that you're interested in our mission. We'd love to talk to you and tell you more about the work that we're doing. That's a great way to reach out. May feel a little big brotherish, but I think at the same time, if they're on your website, there's a reason why. There's something that they are looking for, and it's something that maybe you could help answer. This is what I was referring to earlier, your bookkeeper, and this came from this article. This is actually a webinar that I pulled from Bloomerang, and it does have the transcript, so you can either read it or watch it. But I love this idea because I'd never heard of this before. You utilize vendors within your community, and you give money to them to help provide services and goods for you. Why not approach their leadership and say, we've been a loyal customer for X number of years. We would love it if you would become a part of our giving family, and talk to them a little bit, start that relationship. I think that's really a brilliant idea, and it's an under-tapped resource. So I love that it came up in the chat already. That was amazing. And then implementing a prospecting research tool, of course, you can always do that if you have the funding to do that sort of thing, right? See, Jared says, I brought in my hairstylist once. After so many appointments with her, she was interested in becoming a volunteer, and then she became a donor. That's perfect. And I love the idea, Jared, of like that stair-step approach, right? You get them in, you get them interested, you get them volunteering. Next thing you know, they're becoming a donor because they've seen the work that you're doing and they become passionate about it. So I love that so much. All right, finding prospects outside your database. Once you've gotten that list together from all those sources that we just talked about, how do you know if there's somebody that you should approach? Well, there's going to be different markers you're going to look for, wealth markers and warmth markers. Wealth markers would be like real estate ownership or business affiliations, political giving history, those types of things. Affinity or warmth markers are going to be things like donating to nonprofits, yours or others, history of involvement with nonprofits, again, yours or others, and then personal information such as hobbies and interests. Many of these things are publicly available, and you can go out and find these on your own and resource those. A lot of people use LinkedIn, social media, those types of things, but you can also, of course, use a wealth insights kind of software. So when you're looking at a CRM, one thing to consider here is, do you have wealth prospecting tools available to you that are going to make it easier for you to find people who are ready, willing, and able to give? And at Bloomerang, again, I've mentioned donor search. You're going to hear me mention it many times, but it gives you that wealth of information, the depth of information, things like political giving or charitable giving. You can see the amounts that they give, higher education organizations, business affiliations. All of this is publicly available information that you'll be able to access through your database. So it's actually connected, and it's actually really going to be useful to be able to save you time and energy, so you're not wasting time on prospects. And that sounds terrible, but you're not spending time on prospects that aren't going to be a good match for your organization. You want to find it's kind of like the dating game. You want to find the prospects that are going to be a good match for your organization. Your CRM should help you find people who love causes like yours. It should be precise, scalable, and user-friendly. Remember that you want to be able to scale up. As your organization grows, or as your organization's needs change, you want to be able to have the ability to dive in more deeply. One of the things too about finding a CRM that has a partnership in this way is you do get perks. For Bloomerang, when you have Prospecting Suite, which is specifically made for finding donors outside your database, it'll include 500 physical mailing addresses with every subscription, and you get to pick and choose those mailing addresses. So you automatically are getting contact information as a part of your package. Also, you want to really think about how does it have any kind of relationship feature so that you can see connections inside your database. Let's say that one of the major donors, one of the prospects that we found that we wanted to approach works for Bluth and Bluth Company, and we know that. I could go inside my database and search and find who has relationships, this relationship feature. Who has relationships within Bluth Company? Do I have anyone inside my database who already knows Bluth or is a part of Bluth? And you can see here, George Bluth, who's in my database, has this relationship. I could come to George and say, hey, George, can you introduce me to ABC, whoever it was that we were interested as a prospect? So having that relationship piece is also a really great part of a CRM to look for. Also, your CRM should have a feature which allows you to record notes that are easily accessible, and your notes should be organized so that you can report out on them readily. So we do have a notes feature that is completely open. You can put any type of note in there, but we also have the ability to create custom notes. You saw earlier that custom data, one of the categories was notes. Here is an example of a custom made note. It's prospect management info. It's an entire section of notes. I have here the last action date, the last action type, which is a drop down. So was it in person? Was it a phone call? The next action date. So when is the next time I'm going to be talking to this donor? What kind of action are we going to be taking? The prospect ask amount. What stage are they at? This is also a drop down. And then who is the solicitor? The reason this is so important is because when you are working as a group, you need to have insight into who talked to this donor last, what they talked about, and when they're going to talk again. Because it's really important that you aren't double dipping, that you aren't making asks that might be inappropriate. I do have a story around this. When I was working at United Way, I was working in, we had several different areas. We had fundraising, we had volunteerism. I was working in immersive learning, and we had a new program that we were looking to get sponsorship for. And I did not go into the database, and I approached, and I'm telling on myself here, this is a moment of vulnerability. I approached one of our high-level donors, and I asked them if they would be interested in sponsoring this new, because I knew they had an affinity for the type of work that I was doing, but I didn't check. And inside the database, I would have seen that we had just made an ask of this donor. And so this was really not a good moment for me to come back and make a large ask again. So as you can see, it's really important that this information be in your database, shareable, and that people are checking it on a regular basis. So yeah, I'm just telling on myself right there. All right, so we're going to get ready to switch into talking about phase 2. But before we do, I want to talk about this. How does your organization currently share donor data internally? And if you could drop into the chat and just tell us, how is your organization sharing that data? Is it in a database? Are there other methods that you're using? And the next question I'm going to ask is, have you experienced any issues with your current process? I see Jarrett says database and personal meetings. Database, excellent. Those are both great. Yeah. Google Sheets. Thank you, Anna. Yeah, absolutely. Google Drive has been great for sharing, right? I remember when Google Drive first came out and the idea of being in a worksheet while someone else was in there was crazy. I love it. The database, thank you, Rudy. Yeah. Has anyone experienced issues around your current process? And you can just type that in the chat. I just shared with you a big issue. Not checking the database is really a big deal. You know, when I think about it, and if I had Bloomerang, I could have set a task for myself to remind me to go in and look at the database before I make any asks. Yes, multiple accounts for people, duplicates. Yes, that's a really big one, right? Having multiple accounts for people. If you're just looking at one account and the information you needed to see is in another account, that's going to be problematic because you're going to be you don't have the whole picture, right? Yeah, that can be problematic. And one of the things I love about Bloomerang too is it does call out your duplicates. You get a big red little number at the top that shows how many duplicates you have, and also helps you though to be able to get rid of those and merge those. Any other ideas though, or pain points that you're having around the way that you're currently sharing your data internally? And honestly, I have to say that the story I shared with you, it was not singular to me. That was a problem we had across the board. Unfortunately, we had a lot of times where we really needed to make sure that things were entered into the database, because sometimes it didn't get entered, and then also make sure that people were checking the database on a regular basis. So absolutely. Thank you so much for sharing. So let's move into phase 2. Oh, pain points. Here we go, Kristen. Our CRM isn't set up properly for moves management, donor lifecycle. Yeah, and that's a tough one, Kristen, because that one, you really want to know where that donor is in the life cycle, right? So that you can be respectful of the point that they are at on their journey with you. And that's one of the things I love too about like being able to set up that prospect management interaction piece, notes piece, is you can actually do that and set that up so that you are able to see that on a very much real-time basis. Thanks for sharing that. Yeah, that's one a lot of people have. I've heard that many times. So phase 2, let's talk about the approach, needs discovery, presentation, and then handling objections. So as we look at the sales selling cycle, remember that there are different ideas around how to approach. One of them is you could come to a potential donor with the relevant benefit approach. And this is where you know the issues and areas that they are most interested in. The impact approach means that you know their dominant giving motivation, and you know that they have the capacity to give a major gift. The curiosity approach is when you want to find out about about their hot button issues, and you can relate that back to your work so that you can actually get them very passionate and excited. Compliment approach, when they've done something impressive. And again, this is something you can find on social media, and you can relate that back to your cause. Or a referral approach where you both know somebody and you can get that connection through that with them. Your CRM can support you in this because you can, if you have a high quality CRM, it should have features to make recording this information more streamlined and simple. And you should be able to access this from wherever you are. One of the things we're going to talk about more in just a moment is the mobile app that Bloomerang offers. If you're looking for a CRM, I highly encourage you to look for one that has a mobile app. The mobile app is a really great way to just kind of have your database in your hand, your CRM in your hand, and be able to access it from anywhere. And as you can see, the types of information that you are really kind of needing to know and record for each one of these approaches are the interests, the giving potential and motives, the passions and the mission, related accomplishments, and related contacts. All of this can be recorded in your CRM and should be recorded there so that you can utilize it. So needs discovery, when you are working with someone for talking to them, this is actually the phase where you should be doing less talking and more listening. You want to discover the essential connections between your prospect and your cause. You're not trying to sell them on your cause. What you're really doing is inviting them into this discussion, into this conversation. So it's not convincing them, it's discovering. So once you've sat and you've listened and you've done the needs assessment, you really want to think about this. And I want you to think about this for just a moment. Where does all of that information go? So as you're sitting there listening to this person, where is the information going to be recorded? Is it in a notebook? Is it in a document on your laptop? Is it in your own head? Because if it's in those areas, those are very siloed, and those are not going to be visible to the rest of your organization, and that can create issues. So the most reliable, relatable, and usable place for this data is in your shared CRM, where all users can access it and they can share in your work. So for needs discovery, one of the really great features I would really recommend is that you look for a CRM that has a mobile app. And again, with Bloomerang, we have a mobile app that's free and it's really robust. So as you are out there and you are talking to this donor or potential donor, you can be recording all of this information into your database through your mobile phone. Also, if you're getting ready to go into a meeting, you can access that information and refresh yourself just before going in on the giving potential for this person. You can also look and see any kind of basic information that they have. There's a lot of things inside their profile that might be important for you to look at as well. During the presentation, you're going to tell a story. This is where you get the chance to be able to share with them a little bit more and help them become an advocate of your cause. And you're really building the connection. Again, 90% of fundraising is going to be just building connections with your donors. And so this is a really important piece of that. So you want to compile in advance some things. Some things are essentials, like you need to have this. You need to have a mission statement. You need to know about the work you do. You need to know about the size and reach of your organization. You want to have things that provide legitimacy for your ask when you get ready to do your ask, the framework for the cause and your positioning statement. What about this? Depth, a little more depth, more detailed information about the type of work you do, your programs, the number of people served, how they're served, and more. And then, of course, finances. For many people, this is going to be an important piece of the puzzle. So I want you to drop into the chat, and I want you to look at these items. Which of these items or supporting items can be found in your CRM? Just drop into the chat and let us know. Which ones do you think you can find in your CRM? Definitely the mission statement. Yeah, you should be able to find that somewhere within your CRM. Any others? I love it. Yes, Kristen, all of this information or supporting information to create it is going to be found inside your CRM. So this is really important that you are utilizing your CRM as you are preparing to go in. You want to be able to talk about the people that you serve. That information is inside your CRM. What about your programs? How successful are they? What is the type of impact they're making? That's going to be inside your CRM as well. So really, this is where your CRM can do some heavy lifting for you as you prepare to go in. So what presentation aids will you use? Trick question. Yes, it was, Jared. There are different types of visualizations. I'm a former teacher, so I love to think about how people take data in and how you reach people. Most people are very visual, and so providing a visual is going to really help them engage. Charts are great. Infographics are amazing. When you can take pieces of information and make it bite-sized and make it very easy to understand and chunk it, That is going to be a beautiful way. So that is one way to present your quantitative data. So you have your CRM that provides you with this information, make it into something visual that'll be something that sticks with them more. Qualitative visualization, photos, videos, testimonials, you know that these stick with people because that's where the impact is. That's where the mission is. And so these are going to be very relatable. At the heart of this, it really is one human talking about helping other humans. And we want to be able to connect with that. And even your qualitative data can really be told through story. It's really important that we capture emotion, we share a story, and allow room for some imagination. Here are some stats around storytelling that I love. So stories are remembered 22 times more easily than data, facts, and stats. Our neural network activity increases 5 times when we're listening to a story. And storytelling engages our sensory cortex in the brain, allowing the listener to feel, hear, taste, and even smell the story. So if I have charts and infographics, that's all really great. But if I can also tell a story around it to show the impact that we're making, it's going to really engage my donor even more. Where would you record the mission statement in your CRM? Oh, that's a really great question. Actually, I think I would do it in the organization section. And you need to probably, for some places that may be possible, for others it won't. So, but yeah, definitely you can find different areas for that. But that's a great question. It depends on which CRM you're using as well. Yeah, absolutely. So 6-step plan for handling objections. I'd love to tell you that every donor is going to be on board, but they aren't. And objection handling is actually another area where we can glean a lot of information. And so this is part of the cause selling cycle as well. So you want to listen and hear them out. You want to confirm your understanding. This is where you mirror back what they've said to you. What I'm hearing is A, B, C. And making sure that you've heard it correctly. Communication can go awry in between the person communicating and the listener. So make sure that you're taking in the information correctly. Acknowledging their point of view. One thing that I used to find myself saying a lot, especially doing immersive learning work, was I hear what you're saying. And I think just being able to tell people, I hear this, I am here for this, and I am a part of this conversation with you, is really important. It doesn't mean I agree, but it does mean that I can hear what you're saying, and I'm considering it. Select a specific technique as part of the cause selling cycle. You've learned some techniques, right? Answer the objection and confirm that your answer was sufficient. And then if it's appropriate, attempt to close. If it's not, then this might be the place where you stop, is right here, just answering the objection. And sometimes the answer to the objection might be, let me find out more information for you. It may be that you don't have the answer right away, and that's okay. Because as long as you show the commitment to being a part of that conversation with them, you're going to continue to be in relationship with them. And I think they'll have respect for that as well. But here's where the CRM comes in for this phase. You can record the objections inside your CRM because they also give you important information. This is something where, depending on their objection, it might be something that would inform how you move forward in the future with them. Maybe they're objecting over a lack of knowledge about the work that you do. That might mean that you need to share more of your impact work with this particular donor. Maybe they object over how your organization has handled a certain thing. Maybe you need to get more data and information around that and share that with this particular donor. Maybe they're sharing with you the fact that they can't really make a decision right now without someone else being involved. Make sure that that's recorded so that others know that as well within your organization. Or maybe they're just simply aligned with another cause. Maybe in qualifying something got missed. That's also something to note, is that they aren't really aligned with the cause and the mission. So yes, this looks like the same slide as before, because yes, it's another chance for you to record that information. So the ask and stewardship, this is the final piece when you get ready to go in and make that ask and then stewarding that donor. How does your CRM work in conjunction with the 5 stages of donor stewardship? This came from an article inside Bloomerang. Acknowledge the donor's gift as soon as you receive it. One of the features of Bloomerang is that we have first-time donor calls, and it's right front and center on your dashboard. When someone gives a gift, all of the information that you need is right there, and you are able to make a call. We know that donors that are acknowledged within the first 48 hours are 4 times more likely to give again. And we also know that when donors move from being a first-time donor to a second gift, their retention level is much higher. So it's really important to acknowledge the donor. So we make sure that we make that easy. Send your donor a personal thank you message. Again, this is something that can be easily done through our email feature, which is fairly robust. It can be scheduled, it can be sent out on a weekly basis to folks that have given during that week. So this is something that you can lift off of your shoulders. Your CRM can carry it, and you don't have to worry about it anymore. You can create and send updates that communicate the impact that they made. This is another great area of stewardship. A lot of organizations that utilize CRMs will make newsletters, and you can share that newsletter via email. You update it every month. You schedule it to go out, and it goes out, and you don't have to worry about it. That you have actually done some relationship building in a pretty simple way with a lot of people. And that's a really great way to be able to demonstrate your impact, share stories, which we know are engaging, and steward donors at the same time. If applicable, thank your donor publicly. If it's something where they've given at a certain level, think about thanking them in a public way. Again, this is where you're going to be able to use your CRM to run reports, find out who those donors are, and then invite the donor to give again. And we're going to talk about the cadence of stewarding in just a moment, and when to invite them to give again. This is just a really quick, I'm going to run through these quickly, best practices for enacting your donor stewardship plan. The first one is to create a donor stewardship team. And this might apply if you have a larger team. I know some of you may be one-person shops, but this is just an example of people that you can include on that team. The thing I love is including board members and volunteers. These are your boots on the ground. These are the people who are going to come at this from a different perspective. So I think it's really great to include them in on this team. Create a communication cadence. How often are you wanting to communicate? In what ways are you wanting to communicate? Start with introducing your mission to your donors and finding ways to make a positive impression on them. So you really want to make sure they understand your mission, they understand the impact that you're making. Practice donor segmentation. Super important that you really make sure the message applies to the specific donor. Optimizing communication platforms in any way possible. Show donors that you're using their gifts as expected. That's really important. Many donors stop giving because they never hear about how their gift was used. This is a really important piece. We have to let people know how we're using the gifts that they've entrusted us with. Ask your donors for feedback. This is one that I think is really great because, again, it's just like involving them in this process. They see things from a different perspective. And when you step outside of your organization and get that feedback of how it looks to someone who isn't involved, who isn't in the middle, that can be really, really useful. And then create memorable moments for your donors. That's a lovely thing to be able to do as well. We're going to talk a little bit about donor segmentation. These are some examples of donor segments. I'm not going to go through them because you can read and you'll have this later. But I also attached an article here that you're going to be able to look at that'll go a little more deeply. So why is donor segmentation such an important part? Well, when you're communicating with your donors, you want to make sure that your message is resonating with them. No two donors are the same. For example, Susan here is really involved in education with our particular organization, and we are doing an education event, but I know that Susan lives outside of our particular area. She probably won't be able to come and attend the event. So I'm sending her a note And I say at the bottom of this, I'm talking about that event on the 16th, it's of our education conference. I say at the bottom, check out the lineup in the attachment below. We're looking forward to seeing you there. Please attend the live stream. So I'm sharing with her the fact that, yes, we know you care about this cause. We understand you. We know you don't live locally. And we know that we are going to be able to involve you still. We care about you. So we're going to have a live stream and we want you there. Andre is someone who comes every week and works with the puppies in our Save a Puppy Foundation. And so he volunteers his time. And so we're telling him how appreciative we are to begin with, that he helps the puppies find their forever homes. But what we're doing now is we are running a campaign where we're trying to vaccinate these puppies. So we're saying, we need your help again. Last month, we rescued 50 puppies from a puppy mill, and these are the new members of our family, and they need vaccinations. Would you consider donating to this vaccination campaign? Thank you in advance. We appreciate everything you do. Again, full of gratitude, but also giving that volunteer a chance to also be a donor. Edward is a first-time donor, and he donated at $100 as a part of this vaccination campaign. We're going to send him a completely different message. We're saying, welcome to our family. Thank you for your generous contribution. We were able to put in, using a merge field, that it was $100. Your gift's going to help the puppies in our community to get vaccinated. If you have further questions, please visit our website, follow us on Instagram. We are just doing everything we can to show gratitude and invite him in to learn more about our organization. I would recommend also a follow-up call with Edward, because I think that he's somebody you want to start building a relationship with. And then there's Lily. Lily is someone who's been a recurring donor. She gives to us every month. And we're telling her that this month, her money will be used to help vaccinate a litter of puppies that were rescued from a puppy mill. And our call to action for her is we want her to share information about this drive with her friends and family on Facebook, encourage them to support us until all the puppies are vaccinated. So we're turning our recurring donor into a champion for our cause and asking her to help expand our reach, which is a really great way of segmenting and making this more of a particular ask for her. So she knows we understand that she gives every month. She knows the impact that her donation is making, and she knows we're asking her to help us out by spreading the word. So one of the things you'll want to consider is, do you have any automated pieces of your stewardship plan? If you don't, this is just an example, and this is really chock full of all kinds of outreach. You can do any pieces in any order, and it's still going to be valuable. Any touch points that you can have are going to be valuable. Some of these are not going to be automatable. I don't even know if that's a word. I think maybe, but and others are. When you automate parts, the great thing is it frees you up to take care of the pieces that aren't automated. So when someone gives a donation, you can make a thank you call, not automated. That one has to be done in person. But consider involving your board members in this. Consider involving your volunteers in this, because they can be taking some of the lift off of you as well. Thank you note by mail, again, not automated, but you can also in this instance spread the love a little bit. Maybe have a group of people signing and creating these. A survey, this could be automated. You could send a survey out after the donation's been received. You could make the survey as part of an email and have that set to send out every week, every month, however you want. Newsletters. This is a great way to deliver what your stories of impact are, and that can be automated as well. Obviously, some of these aren't going to be automated again, but what we're really trying to demonstrate here is you want to be thinking about your stewardship as a journey, as a way of involving people, telling them more about your mission, and then usually studies have proven that the end of the first 90 days is your last best chance to acquire your second gift. So you might want to consider that second gift appeal somewhere between day 85 and 90. All right, how do you engage different types of donors through your stewardship plan? So like long-term donors, lapsed donors, first-time donors, for example. Do you have ways that you are currently doing this within your organization? And I'm going to guess that this might not be a question that's resonating, and that's okay. I will admit it, not very well. It's hard. I think this can be a really big challenge. And part of it is the time that it takes. Once you create that journey map, really think about ways that your CRM can do that lifting, the ways that your CRM can automate pieces of that for you, creating emails and scheduling them to send filtered on certain criteria can be a great way to automate those pieces so that you aren't having to do that. Also, setting tasks can be another way to keep you making sure that you're staying on track with this. I do love the live bunt and side bunt reports, though. Yeah, especially at year end. Absolutely. If somebody has engaged with you before and they aren't engaging with you now this year, this can be a great way to try to bring them back. Hey, we miss you. You know, that's a really great way to be able to re-engage folks who obviously cared at some point. Maybe things have changed for them, but it's good to start building that relationship by reaching out. I see Rudy saying, since most of my fundraising is through donor advisors, it is regular advisor presentations that we give them tools to re-engage donors. I'm sorry, I'm gonna have to read that again because Rudy, I think I messed that up. Since most of my fundraising is through donors advisors, it is regular advisor presentations that we give them tools to re-engage donors. You typed it well. You're fine, Rudy. Okay, then that's great. I love that. I love that you have those presentations so that you can give them tools to re-engage their donors. It's vitally important. We know that acquiring donors requires a lot of your resources. So you don't want to have to be constantly acquiring new donors. Your live bunt and side bunt, it's a gold mine of people to reach out to because they cared at some point and something has happened, right? So yeah, absolutely. Reaching back out and re-engaging those donors is so important. All right, are there any other questions about utilizing a CRM in order to continue to do your cause selling in a way that doesn't drive you crazy?
Margie, I thought this was fantastic. I definitely want to encourage others to use this time to ask questions while we have this amazing expert with us here. We have some more time to spend with all of you. I was curious, Margie, I loved so much the examples that you gave of, the donor that you knew didn't live in town and that you were able to segment that. Can you tell us or tell me a little bit more about how you created that? Like, was it you had to create a report and you had to segment that report, so to speak, to send out a big grouping, perhaps of people that aren't local? Is that how you do, that kind of task?
That's a great question, Jarrett. So it depends upon how you are going to be sending this out within your CRM. For Bloomerang, you can do a report if you wish, or you can filter within your email. But the most important piece is the filtering. So you're going to be taking your entire CRM, your entire database, and you're going to be creating filters that narrow down your audience to the particular group that you want to be able to send that direct communication with.
That's great. I just love that so very much because I know I will get emails, and especially I don't want to say post-COVID because I know we're still living with COVID, but we have really gained a lot of supporters from outside of our, local geographic area. And so to be mindful of their location, and then also Some places, and I don't know if Bloomerang offers this, will have kind of that snowbird opportunity that they have seasonal addresses that they use. I live in a community certainly that we need to utilize that tool. So I, just love that you can segment and customize it so that it's truly personalized. Because again, I've received emails for a community that I don't live in, and I just think that goes the extra mile and speaks a lot. We do have a question here. Thank you. How do you avoid duplicates in this process?
Yeah, Kirsten, that's a great question because as we talked about before, duplicates are a curse because if you start recording information about the same person in two locations, you're not getting the full picture. One of the things that I love about Bloomerang is that it is constantly analyzing and looking for duplicates. If it sees anything that aligns as it could be a duplicate, it's going to give you a warning. The great thing is you can go in and actually look at each piece of data for the accounts and then decide, is this the same person? And do I want to merge this, or do I want to leave these separate and do more research? If they fall into multiple segments, do they get emails for out of town and reoccurring? You can actually take it and Kirsten, make it so that if they were included in one group, you can filter and exclude them from the next group. So whichever one you do first, you can make it so that, so that they are excluded on the next one. Absolutely. Yeah.
I'm just so amazed, Margie. You've got so much wealth of information. I know you have done several workshops and webinars, educational before. Again, I took tons of notes. I'm sure many of our guests here today did as well. We have a little over 15 minutes remaining. So if you have any questions, please make sure to utilize those. Thanks for everyone that did ask these questions. Again, fantastic. I loved how you integrated this. One of the things that I'd like to call out is, although Fundraising Academy at National University, we do not have an alignment, a partnership, so to speak, with Bloomerang. We do elevate all CRMs based off of what works for you. Again, I've had my hands in Bloomerang. I love the synergies between the two. There is currently no customized, or there's currently no template or set way to really use cause selling education into Bloomerang, but you can absolutely customize it, as Margie was saying. So that is a custom option that you certainly can do. I'm right along with many of you that said we don't currently use our database in a moves management or in the cause selling education model system. So don't worry, you're in, we're all in good company with one another. And there's still so much opportunity. Margie, thank you truly for providing all that you've provided with us. Again, for those of you that have joined us live or perhaps recording, you will have this at your fingertips. I know Margie's also active on LinkedIn, and we will have that for you in a little bit. So just to conclude, in summary, again, really finding a CRM, finding a partner, in all of the phases of this cause selling cycle. I also shared in the chat, I love that you brought up the Madden acronym. That is one of my favorites. I also find that board members really gravitate to the Madden acronym as well, as we use it in principle and practice. So when you're selecting a donor database, do make sure that you consider what it offers by value to make it easier for you, your team, to also record the data, the prospects, hopefully to mitigate any duplicates. But again, hopefully that's easy in the CRM that you choose. Again, automation. I also know Margie's fantastic at automation. I've sat in on another workshop where she shared all about how you can create automatic reports in Bloomerang. And again, I was just blown away by the experience that you have. So also consider, when you pick a CRM or perhaps choose a different CRM, that perhaps you're picking one that can grow with you. I always say, for me and my son, it's like, I'm not buying the tennis shoe that fits you now. I'm buying the tennis shoe that's going to also fit you in a few months, right? So really look at that expansion. It's because you really do want to find a system that can hopefully scale with you. The other thing I'll share just from experience is, I know that Many things, it's not a one size fits all. And so we are often not using all the bells and whistles in any CRM. So there's a lot more often that you can take advantage of. So, all right, well, let's, for connection, I want to call this out. So again, Fundraising Academy at National University, the cost selling education model. If you have your smartphone by you, which I don't know who doesn't, go ahead and pull that out and you can scan the QR code so that you can find more information there and follow us online, right? We share a lot of content. I also promised that, and Margie, you were thrilled, which I thought was adorable. You now have your own QR code, my friend. So I hope that you keep this, maybe even tattoo it on your body, henna, whatever works for you.
I might.
But feel free to connect with either of us and both of us. Also on LinkedIn, you can find us here by just scanning those QR codes. Also want to mention that we have an online learning portal. It is free. We encourage all of you to go there, even encourage your board, your volunteers, your staff. So you can register for this online portal. Take a look in the chat. Thank you so much. That link is there for you, but do visit this online learning portal. The good news is there is no business hours. It is open 24/7, so you can access it no matter the time of day or the day of week. So it is there for your learning pleasure. You can also find out on the portal when any next webinars or workshops are coming up. So we encourage you to take a look at that as well. But otherwise, that is wrapping up a successful educational moment. Again, I'm going to have to go back and look at my notes. Really excited to have this content. We look at the end of the year, Margie, and it is right here. We were just talking, we already can't believe it's November, and here we are wrapping up soon the end of the year. So thank you for sharing your expertise, your wisdom with us in this subject. Thanks to all of you also that joined us, again, live or recording. We hope this is helpful. Please do let us know, and we hope that you'll join us next time. Margie, thank you.
Thank you. Have a great day.